style event and actually give it some sort of hype. This seems like the type of event that he should be hyping up, the type of event that people might actually be interested in watching. He's been talking about it consistently for months, so why doesn't he just give it the attention that it deserves and make it a marathon style and bang it out? Why spread out this video over multiple days? I mean, people were blessed with the ability to recall memories, but stopping a movie halfway through to finish it 3 days later is just odd. And I don't think that this situation is really any different. I just can't wait to hear how viewership is dropping off on the subsequent sessions, because anybody who was really interested and enthralled by the story continues to watch the doc after DSP got off stream. It's like this guy chooses to be his own worst enemy every single day.
So here's how I'm gonna attack it. All right. Day streams, meaning this stream right now will be a podcast and gameplay. So let's say Black Myth Wukong comes out, but then a day into it, my documentary drops. Okay? So it's going to be podcast, gameplay on the first stream, break. My night stream will be exclusively reacting to this documentary. Okay? So that way we're splitting it half and half, and I'm not really neglecting stuff. Okay? And so that's how I'm going to attack it. But here's the thing. That I can't do that with those guys. I can't, my night streams are 2-3 hours tops. I can't go super late.
So not only is it going to be stretched out over multiple days, but it's also going to be relegated entirely to the night streams. The streams notorious for having less viewership. None of this plan makes any sense. He is in one of the least convenient time zones for the entire world, and his grand idea is to make all of the streams at the worst time. It's like he doesn't want people to care about this documentary or see it at all. On one hand, the less people that see it, the better. Obviously, that's pretty easy to understand, but if they were going to see it, if people were interested in watching it, and they definitely are, you'd think that he would at least want it to be viewed through his stream, where he can attempt to pignatize as many people as possible. And you would think that given DSP's recent interest in moving away from gameplay and more into his talking and reacting, that this would be the perfect time to fully demonstrate how that could look. Yet, right now, when it would be legitimately appropriate to do so, he isn't actually committing to it and instead trying to do a balancing act for those few dents out there who actually enjoy the gameplay, a rarer breed by the day. Everything is just so bass-ackwards with the guy. I'm always left wondering how he makes the decisions that he does.
My wife has work. I want to spend time with her every night. And this is something, I will say this. Out of the entire night last night, okay, the only time that I felt uncomfortable or pressured is because those guys were absolutely adamant that we finished reacting to the Review Tech documentary in that setting. And they're even saying, they're pressuring me, like, dude, you spent a lot of money, you should stick around. I'm like, guys, you got to understand something. Someone could literally hand me $1 million fucking right now. I didn't say this to them, but this is what it's going through my mind. Someone could hand me $1 million right now on stream, and I would still say I have to go because my wife is more important. You understand? She is. Money is just fleeting. Having a relationship with someone you truly love is more important to me. Okay? So I had to get out of here. I couldn't stay late. All right, I already laid down that, right?
I'm sure she knows, but if she doesn't, I hope after hearing this, Kat realizes that she married an absolute idiot. I don't care who you are or what your situation is. If there was actually $1 million on the table and you chose 45 extra minutes laying in bed with your wife over that, you're a complete imbecile. I know that he's being hyperbolic, exaggerating, if you will, but he very specifically chose $1 million to emphasize how serious and how big of a deal this was, and for that he should be mocked. And any wife who lives in reality would absolutely be floored if they found out that their husband had turned down $1 million just to lay in bed and pull Hogan's while they tried to sleep. He thinks that this is endearing and a display of what a good husband he is, but all it really illustrates is that his priorities are all screwed up and he can't understand that while some choices are better in the short term, that others could work out better in the long term. Imagine how many days off they could have spent together after $1 million. She could have quit her job and never worked again with that kind of safety net. That's of course assuming an alcoholic gambling addict wasn't in charge of the finances, of course.
So with this documentary coming up, what I'm planning to do is split it up into basically doing like 2-hour chunks. So I'll do gameplay, 2-hour react chunk to the first part of my documentary. Next day, gameplay, and then another 2-hour react chunk to the next part of my documentary. So you see what I'm saying? So I'm doing it like that. There's no way the guys from Kino Casino are going to want to be every night. All they're doing is reacting to my documentary. And let's be honest, it's give or take as well. I showed up on their show, so they showed up on mine, right? So we, it's kind of like boop, ba-doop, you go back and forth, you help each other out. It's not going to be, oh, now they're going to be on my streams every night for a week and not make money for themselves. That's insane. Who would even ask that? What kind of a selfish, dumbass thing would that be to ask someone, hey, you just cancel all your work this week and make no money so you can be on my streams to give me money? Kind of unreasonable, don't you think?
This is exactly what I was talking about earlier, the longest way to convey the simplest concept. Just say you wouldn't bother burdening them with that many collabs back to back to back to back to back, like Drake. He just talks about everything in the most convoluted, roundabout way to pad out these streams and postpone the gameplay as much as possible. This is also yet another example of him jumping the gun when it comes to these collabs, something that I've talked about already rather recently, so I'll let it go, but I did want to point it out.
So yeah, so that's coming, and that's the truth. The one thing that's dampening, I keep saying dampening, that's not the word. Bringing me down. What's the word for if you're getting brought down? Like it's kind of like putting the kibosh on the fun. I can't think of what the word is. I don't know. I'm sure someone's gonna say it in the chat, and I'm gonna feel stupid because I can't think of it. But the only thing that's bringing me down right now is this impending documentary. Yeah, I guess looming. That's a good word for it. It's a looming documentary. Because I know for a fact when this comes out, there's shit that I've done over the years that, number one, no one's really talked about in a documentary. My Street Fighter years and shit, nobody knows about that. And they're going to see that and they're going to be like, wow, he was an asshole. Now, I think a lot of people will just laugh about it, but the thing is, you're dredging up stuff that literally is so outdated, has nothing to do with who I am, and that was pre-YouTube. That was a life ago, right? And I've already apologized out my ass about it, saying I really regret how I acted back then.
You most definitely have not apologized out the ass for any of that, though. In fact, you did nothing but make up excuses and obfuscate the truth as often as you could. To this day, he talks bad about almost every single person involved in the early FGC, especially the Cannon brothers. Two guys who were wildly successful and almost single-handedly responsible for the competitive fighting game scene being as large as it is today. It's also incredibly rude to say that no one has covered those super early days. Meanwhile, the Dead Sea Scrolls exists and has breathed a new life into the long-forgotten lore that was the old FGC days. Could you just put some respect on ALT's name? Because I couldn't imagine anyone else taking the time to not only curate those posts, but also read them out in an entertaining and coherent fashion. It's probably thanks to him alone that June was even able to gather any of that information up to begin with. And he tries to downplay these years of his life as well by referring to them as a life ago. Not only does that not make any sense, because who the hell is only living for 20 years or so, but it also doesn't excuse any of the things that he said or did back then.
The other part of it is going to be dredging up things about my ex, which again, that's another past part of my life that I don't even talk about her for a good reason, because I'm past that. I'm happily married, and having to bring up stuff about my ex and stuff, and it's going to be a big part of the documentary, because when I was with my ex, that was a lot of reasons why a lot of people started to hate on me. They said I changed, they said I was making content with her, and my content was changing. They didn't like that. They didn't like her personality, right? It's a big thing, and I know that that's going to be something that we have to now go drag through the mud again. I don't want to drag that through the mud, but we have to. We have to go there, right? That's part of my history.
You don't have to do anything because you don't have to watch the doc at all. If he didn't want to talk about Panda Lee, he could do the same thing during that segment that he plans on doing during the WWE Champions segment. And by that, I mean just skip it after giving his lies and retcons. It really is simple as. Don't forget, though, that Panda being a part of the content was entirely his idea. He was the one who wanted to make her a part of the videos. He was the one who repeatedly brought her into the content despite his own audience expressly telling him that they did not enjoy the addition of her and that the way he behaved around her was also unappreciated. So really, it just serves him right having to address the entire situation now that he created. Reap and sow.
And like I said, the last several years with this stupid financial shit and bankruptcy shit and mobile game shit, I'm so exhausted. Street Fighter Day, no one's really talked about it. For me, that'll actually be kind of refreshing to talk about something new from my past and try to content comes, right? But to have to go through the talk about this shit I've already talked about for a million times, right? It's gonna be incredibly stressful. It's gonna be by the way, time for another 10 fucking bonus rounds. Even though you got through it, the fight continued. Like, when does the fight end, right? When does my time to stop having to respond to this fucking toxic shit about me end? When can I just enjoy my life?
The day that you log off permanently, and I don't mean dying, I mean literally logging off the internet indefinitely. That will be the day that he no longer has to answer for his actions and past behaviors. 16 years of content creation, 16 years of content with endless examples of him being insufferable by every metric. If carrying that burden is really that taxing, if it is really that much weight on your shoulders, go ahead and clock out, boss. Because at no point should anyone let him forget just how awful he's been on the internet. Notice though that right now, before the doc has even come out, he's already prepared and even looking forward to setting the record straight and clearing the air on certain things revolving around his early Street Fighter days. If no one has talked about this before, according to him, how the hell would he know there are things to debunk and clarify? It's as if he's already concocting whatever narrative he wants to spin to excuse his actions, and that's just despicable.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, why do I have to constantly respond to the toxicity, negativity, and the dumb shit people say about me? Why can't I just say, hey, let's talk about today and the future? Because it's all that shit's in the past. I'm not, you know, all that stuff, just forget it all. You know what I'm saying? But no, we've got to do it again. We're doing it again. We're going through it again. And everyone's going to want to see reaction. Everyone. It's like the biggest thing right now. The rich one. Now everyone wants to see reaction. So, it's a lot. Let me put it this way. A lot of pressure. Okay? Usually pressure's not a big deal. But in this case, I really am. I'm in right now where I just like, I don't care about it. I don't have to talk about it. But now I have to talk about it. You know, I've had enough of that. But I'm gonna do it. I'm man up and I'm gonna do it. And I know it's just gonna be so stressful. Plus, I'm gonna be playing challenging video games for the first year. Then I'm gonna get beat up on
He has to play brand new video games and then find truly sordid life that no one could make it. Thank God we have the carry this on that board. We're not all about accountability and responsibility are what we have to do. His own upcoming documentary after the hypocritical event that went to this is exactly what he deserves, nothing less.
Yes, can I be honest? I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? Because I now have people who have newfound interest and respect for me. What to say? I've learned over the years that kind of stuff is very fleeting. Alright? Moment's notice, something can happen, and boom. Now the popular thing is to crap on you. Right? And so I look at this as a situation where now things are going well, but in just a couple of weeks when my own documentary comes out, it could completely flip on its head. Documentary or something long way. 4 hours, so it's going to be hard for you to not find something in the documentary that you hate about me, because it's 4 hours long. It's literally going to cover everything bad about me in my history. So there's gonna be shit. I can't believe I'm so disgusted with this man, right? But it doesn't mean that that's who I am. But that doesn't mean anyone will. On the internet, everything's absolute. Everything's black and white. If you were bad once, you're bad now, right? So, you know, it's just very frustrating. I'm having such a good time now, but I can't fully enjoy it. I'm being honest with you guys right now. I'm trying to be like real open with you. I can't really fully enjoy this right now because I have this feeling. What's the great right now? This documentary is gonna come out. Great. Wow, I actually feel it. Now it's fun to shit on Phil again. This is the first even better now because the Netflix show is canceled. The documentary is so bad. Fuck that guy. Shit on him. I don't want to.
If this is how he feels, and I believe he is being honest, I know that the second he's really not worried about this at all. I do think that if this were the case, documentary does actually come out. That way he would at least be able to remind people of all the meaningful and robust moments they've shared recently. That is not what he's doing. As it stands now, he's more pig-headed and obnoxious than ever, constantly pressures and dancing to the sounds of their imaginary suffering. He's just got no face or pattern coming to stuff this is due information. But this is not only a real sword, it's also a sword wound, despite his own ring being entirely including the worst of both.
I'll tell you right now, if that happens, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to be doing any kind of collabs or anything. And I'm not saying other guys are going to turn on me or anything. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But I'm done with it. I will shut myself off. I don't care because I've had enough of it. I really have had enough of this bullshit of everyone shitting on it. I'm not going to even put up with it anymore. It's going to be a flat out, I don't want to hear about anyone else, about other people's content, nothing. I don't want to hear about what anyone said about me. I don't want to hear about this guy, that guy, nothing, right? Right now, it's good because everyone's saying but it could change in 2 weeks. Yeah, I know it's paranoia. Paranoia? Yes! That's actually exactly the description of it. A good description is paranoia, but it's very well justified paranoia. This has happened to me many times. You understand? So, will this be time number 10 when I try to trust people, when I try to you know, open up to do new things, and then all of a sudden it just blows up in my fucking face for the millionth time? Still a piece of shit. Everyone crap on him, crap on his business, crap on his family, crap on everything. I can't take it. That's actually happening. I'm not putting anything outside just making content for me and my core audience. That was it. You know, right now I'm enjoying branching out. I'm enjoying being on their show. I'm trying to be different. Right? I'm trying to I'm not gonna put up with it. Everyone has to. Right? Everyone has to. This is it. That's going to be the last one. Because I'm not going to give anyone else any more time. That's how I'm feeling right now. Right? I really enjoy the ride, but it's all the same. One more thing and right back to the show.
The casino. Tremendous. The future of DSP has all future collabs going forward. It's entirely reliant on whether the casino pulls the trigger to end the buddy play. All this talk of paranoia and justified talk, all of this faith in Ashton and beautiful, simply something. I just don't understand why they acknowledge this, but also admit to it publicly. Bad decision after bad decision with no end in sight, especially now that Newhart has entered the arc, something that I personally didn't see coming. But that will be for another video in another time, potentially. What's not potential, however, is the fact that there were comments from the 60 Skulls in the last video, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at now. So big ups to the 60 Skulls. Jarrett Mark says, I don't want anything to do with your negativity, you stupid detractors. If a negative video about me pops up in my feed, yeah, I'll watch it. And I think that brilliantly demonstrates exactly the kind of person DSP is. He's the type of person to say one thing out of one side of his mouth and the complete opposite out of the other. Because as much as he claims to not care about his detractors or what they're doing, he's constantly talking about them more now than ever. And now that the King of Hate has returned,